Well, look who showed up for part 2 of the Hoya tour. Hopefully all of you, because I don't want to be doing this for nothing. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, this is the second part of my Hoya tour because people requested it and I don't think you wanted to see every single one, but I am showing you every single one and the link to part 1 will be somewhere above my head. So we can just move on from that. Today I will show you 2 other grow tents that I have so we can kind of finish the grow tent story. We have the medium one and the small one. And I just want to say again, a disclaimer, do not put a grow tent on top of a grow tent like I did. I have not faced any issues. I actually think it's genius, but I don't know what can happen. So there are fewer Hoyas in this tour than in the last one because I just divided them like that in the sections. I actually don't know how many Hoyas will be in each section. So I think we have about 60 or 70 here. And then we will move on to my glass cabinets and all the Hoyas outside. Where are you? Like this one here. We will see those in the last video. So let's cut this intro short and start with the tour. This is my medium-sized grow tent by Mars Hydro. This is 120 by 120 centimeters, which is 4 by 4 feet. And I have FC 3000 grow light here dimmed to the lowest setting. And then for the lower level, I have 2 LED lights that are 20 watts each. And they are 6500 kelvin, so cool white LED light, just hardware store LED lights. And I don't really know how many Hoyas I have in this one, but it's not completely filled out. There is room for more, especially on the shelf in the back, which was supposed to be kind of like a Hoya wall. I used to have a Hoya wall in this tent, but I took all of the Hoya walls down because I just find it much easier this way. This is one of my favorite Hoyas with veiny leaves. It is Hoya Clemensiorum long leaf, and visually it resembles Clemensiorum IML 1752, but because it arrived without a session number, of course, we cannot add it to this plant. But I have been searching for this clone for a long time. I got it from Basie as a gift, and I think it's stunning. The purple veining on the back looks beautiful. If you look up this plant on the internet, you can see how beautiful and big the leaves can get. My plant still hasn't bloomed, and I find it pretty slow to grow, but I love it nevertheless. I think it looks pretty cool. Another plant with veiny leaves that I think is very cool is Hoya species Affinity Lambi. This leaf did not develop properly because we just did not have space to develop, which was a theme in the previous video. These are some of the older leaves. My friend Farah has a very cool clone of this plant that has splashy leaves, and I cannot wait to get my hands on that one, even though I think this one is pretty cool as well. Of course, we will have a leaf that is stuck in the trellis, but don't worry, I'm actually going to get this one out because I think it looks gorgeous and you have to see it. I find this plant somewhat slow to grow. I did share this with my friends, so maybe that is why it is smaller than I expect it to be. This plant is a pretty frequent bloomer, and I think the flowers are very nice. I don't detect any smell on them, perhaps something like chlorine, which isn't very nice, but it's very faint and they only last a day. One of my favorite veiny leaf crosses is this Hoya Irina. I think this plant is stunning. I think it does not get enough attention. I love the veins on the leaves. I love the pillowy look on the leaves, and they do get some splash, but this plant is great because it is easy to take care for. No issues with it whatsoever. It is a fast grower. My plant still did not bloom, but I honestly just don't care. I think it looks great as it is. And this is one of the few ones that I would love to keep from my veiny leaf Hoya collection. Now, this is Hoya puber. I have another one from my friend Carolina. That one didn't do so well because it arrived a bit rotten. And this one also didn't arrive so well, so not much luck, but it is on the way to recovery, so I don't have much to say about this plant. But I do have a lot to say about Hoya callistophila, and not many positive things. This is ironically Callistophila big leaves from Sabah, and I just don't love Hoya callistophila. I'm sorry to all callistophila lovers out there. I never had any luck with any of the clones. They don't grow well here. I don't know why. This is my 3rd or 4th clone. It was supposed to be a good grower, but even Betsy tells me it's not, and I got this plant from her, and she told me it was supposed to be good grower, so I was lied to. Now this is Hoya species SR 2009-005. I got this from Camilla on my first order as a gift. It is a nice plant. I restarted it because it had root rot and pon, and now I think I'm gonna restart it again. I would like to see it bloom, and I would like to see it grow more because because I think leaves can get very nice under high light. We will talk about this plant a little bit later. This is Hoya species Affinity Megalantha, potentially, maybe something else. It grows like a weed, this one and another plant in the back, and despite having their own trellises, absolutely not, they're not going to use them. They will use other plants as trellises, which I think is a very, very rude behavior. We're not here for it. Now this is true Hoya Burtoniae, not species Affinity Burtoniae, true Hoya Burtoniae confirmed. You can see the beautiful purple underside of the leaves. It is just a Hoya that I think is adorable, it is cute, I think you should find one. I think it is worth looking for. Unfortunately, you can see some of the calcium deposits like in my previous video on the leaves. I think my tap water got harder than it used to be. Now, I don't water them with tap water. They get a mix of mostly RO water with a bit of tap water and of course fertilizer, but I will shower them in the bathtub. And this is the look after that. This plant still didn't bloom, but we do have a peduncle, so we remain hopeful. Hoya mapigera is something that I relatively recently restarted. It used to grow in pond and got to be a very big plant with not so many leaves. So I think I took 4 or 5 cuttings, I'm not quite sure, and I put it in cocoa peat and perlite in a self-watering pot. And the leaves on this plant are now much nicer. They have a lot of splash. You can see that the new growth is light green. There is still some old cuttings there that also have a lot of bare stems, so I think I will cut it back a bit again and then restart those. But I really love this plant. It blooms pretty frequently for me, but it blooms at night, so it's not so easy to catch the flowers and much more difficult to take photos of the flowers, but I think they look very nice. Unfortunately and shamefully, this is the best example of me growing Hoya archboldiana. This is outer variegated Hoya archboldiana, and I know that on the newer leaves you don't see it because this variegation sort of comes in. But on the older leaves you will see it very clearly, the outer variegation, and all the leaves did look green as they grew. You will also see that they are slightly silvery. There will be a shot later where you can see that. Again, not so much on the newer growth, but on the older growth it is visible. Now, there is something wrong with this plant, I believe. My friend Carolina, from who I got this plant, told me I should restart it, and I just did not have time. I will probably reroot it and see if she will grow a bit faster with larger leaves. Now, this is Hoya vangbiengiensis with big leaves, again, ironically, because I don't think they're so big. This plant, I said in my video when I got it that I was not impressed, but I have to tell you, the new growth I like very much. I think they look very interesting. You can see that typical vangbiengiensis-ish veining, which was not so present on the older leaves. Unlike the other clone of Hoya vangbiengiensis that I have, this one is not pubescent. Now we have vangbiengiensis NS07202. This is what typically we think of when we think of Hoya vangbiengiensis, and you can see some of the leaves on this one are bigger than on the leaves on the big leaved clone, which again, irony. And this one struggled with mites a bit, so she could look a little bit better, but then couldn't we all? Anyways, let's just move on to the next Hoya. This is Hoya latifolia pot of gold. This is one of the few latifolias that I would love to keep in my collection. I think it looks very nice. I think it looks much nicer than the outer variegated Hoya latifolia, but maybe that's just me. I did struggle with this one a little bit. I got 2 plants from a nursery that is sort of notorious for their imports and root rot, and both of these had root rot and they struggled quite a bit, but finally this one is growing and now it is picking up, which I'm very happy to see. It wasn't that cheap for a latifolia, and actually latifolia pot of gold was pretty expensive in Europe. It wasn't actually that common in Europe until last year. You could not really find it so easily. I have to be honest, I don't think that Hoya finlaysoni lalia is something that you would like. To me, it has a sentimental value because I got it from a dear person, but I don't think that the leaves look pretty nice. They're pretty bland for finlaysoni, actually. They lack that prominent nervature. The flowers look like any other finlaysoni. It blooms as frequently as any other finlaysoni, so there is really no selling point. I honestly don't really understand why this cultivar is in circulation, but again, this plant does have a sentimental value to me and I do love it. But only because of that. I totally understand if you don't like this plant at all. Again, you can see the flowers are very nice, blooms very early on, grows pretty well for Hoya finlaysoni, not the best, not the worst. In my opinion, Hoya ruthie has beautiful leaves. They're sort of like suede. They're dark green. Some of the older leaves are lighter green because they were exposed to more light, and it was actually then when the plant made a peduncle, but unfortunately that whole vine died back. You can see some of the older leaves here. I think in lower light they look better, they look darker and healthier. Now you can see another example of Hoya not doing what it is supposed to do, and this is actually a problem because the vine went through the smallest opening on this Omar shelf, and of course after that it grew leaves, so it was pretty tough to get these out without damaging them. Again, what are they doing? I don't know. So this is Hoya species Affinity Blasharnesi Golden Flame. Ironically, my mother plant never bloomed. I did sell a cutting of this plant and the cutting bloomed, so thank you very much for that. This is a plant that started to grow much better for me in the grow tent. When it was in my room, maybe it was because it was underwatered, but it did not grow so much. So we're waiting for the flowers still. I was hoping to catch this one in bloom, but unfortunately no such luck. This is Hoya Finlaysoni Nova, and this is for my friend Carolina. I had this plant for over 2 years. This is one of the 2 plants. I made another one from this plant. I don't really know why. I do like the plant, but I think it's pretty telling that this plant blooms very frequently and I have no flower photos. If I don't bother to take out the camera to take flower photos, do I still need it? I guess that's a question for me, but the leaves are nice. My first attempt of growing Hoya thuathienhuensis was pretty awful. I had the plant in pon and I don't know, something was not right with that plant. This one I got recently from my friend Farah and it is growing extremely well. I think it is a very beautiful Hoya. It has an amazing flower. My plant still did not bloom, but it does have a peduncle, so I'm expecting flowers pretty soon. I cannot wait. I'm very, very excited to see this one in bloom because I understand the leaves are not much to look at, but the flowers are. Trust me. Hoya excavata, I'm sorry to tell you, I don't like this plant. I got it as a gift and that is why I appreciate it, but I really don't love it so much. I find the leaves are pretty odd. I don't know why. I think it's the shape of the leaf and I am waiting for the flower. Maybe that is the thing that will kind of win me over. So far with this growth pattern and with the look on the leaves, I cannot say much about this plant. Now, next plant that we have here is Hoya benguetensis, and this plant is absolutely amazing, magnificent, the best Hoya. Leaves narrow and long, they look very nice, great grower when you water it on time, and blooms constantly. We have 3 or 4 peduncles filled with buds here, and I just adore this plant so much. I used to not like it and I wanted to get rid of it, which would have been a huge mistake because when you see the flowers and what they look like, and I think it's because it didn't bloom for me frequently in the beginning, but then when I kind of changed my care and started to water it more, it started to bloom, of course, more. I mean, look at those flowers. They are delicious. They look amazing. The color is perfect. Everything about them is great. We want more. We want this plant super, super large. Would a Hoya tour be a Hoya tour without dead flowers? Probably, but you can see they make a lot of mess on the bottom of my tent. I'm very glad that they are in the tent because I would absolutely hate cleaning this up every single day. And of course we have yet another Hoya that is growing around everything. This is Hoya boati, grows like a weed as well, but it does make a beautiful flower, so we will retrellis it and hope it blooms again. Hoya pupicalix splash, you saw this one in the previous video. This is another plant that I have. Now Hoya obovata splash I also got as a gift. I think you saw this in my birthday video. It did grow a bit, but one of the leaves was a bit funky. I'm not really sure. I don't think it's pests, but I think I will treat the plants anyways. It looks very nice. It has a lot of splash. I'm not a great fan of Hoya obovata, but I do like this one. We just need to get over the growth pattern. Now, the next plant is Hoya valiniana innervariegated, and this plant looks dehydrated, but it's not actually. It just did not like repotting from a smaller pot to a larger pot in pon, and it was time to repot. It was very root bound. This is very unfortunate because this plant is not so easy to root, but you can see some of the leaves are falling. I hope it recovers a bit. I might transition it to something else to kind of help that. It's a beautiful plant. I adore it. It makes wonderful flowers, wonderful foliage, but you can see that it's not firmly in the pot, and that is a sign that something is wrong with the roots. But a beautiful Hoya. You can see what the plant looked like when she was a bit smaller. I think it is very cute when the leaves get a bit pink from the light. And of course the flower is very nice as well. I got this as Affinity Megalantha NS05015, but it could be Affinity Vitiensis. This plant I hear is not so easy to bloom. It grows like a weed, so I don't understand why it wouldn't we bloom. What do you think is the purpose of all that growth, dear Hoya? It has very, very plain leaves. The flowers are supposed to be very nice, but again, if it doesn't bloom, I'm not going to keep it forever, and I'm sorry for that. The next plant that we have is this Hoya Boiti, and this actually lost a lot of the leaves. You cannot see it here so much, but it did lose a lot of the leaves. I think it was last summer that it lost a lot of the leaves. It looked pretty miserable. Now it looks much nicer. There is a lot of new growth. I thought about restarting it and rooting it again, but I just instead decided to wrap it around the trellis and hide the naked vines. But again, it did flower, and I cannot wait to see it in flower again because I only got a brief look at the flower. I had to go to France to visit Basie, so I do apologize that the photos are perhaps not the best, not the most detailed, but literally on the day when I had to leave, when I had to go to the airport, it bloomed. A plant in a desperate need of a trellis, I'm told. These are supposed to grow better if you put them on the trellis right away. Hoya McGillivray Iron Range. I only got this one because of the flower from my friend Farah. It was also sort of a gift, and I would love to see them bloom. Again, the leaves, in my opinion, are not much to write home about. They do take up a lot of space, so I'm just not really sure if it's worth it unless they bloom early on, or unless that is something that's really spectacular. So we have to wait and see. Now, AH0734, this is a Hoya I wanted for a long time. I have to be honest, in the photos from Hoya, the leaves looked nicer. There was more splash. I sort of thought it looked like Aglonema pictum tricolor, but of Hoya world. Unfortunately, it was sort of like catfishing, you know. The dating profile and just the visuals in person don't match. It's still a pretty nice Hoya, but I would not say it is one of my favorite clones. And I do think this is Hoya finlaysoni essentially, so yet another one. Now, this one I love. Hoya Species Chicken Farm. This leaf is gorgeous, amazing. Every new leaf that grows on this plant, I think it looks better than the previous one. I am obsessed with every leaf. The older leaves, again, I was really obsessed with them when they grew, and then I got the newer one and the newer one, and I just think every new leaf is better, and this is the latest one. And this plant actually did bloom, pretty easy to bloom. Now, I don't think this is strictly finlaysoni. I think we're still just not unsure where to place this one, so hence I will just leave Species Chicken Farm because that is the name that I got it under. To me, it looks very much finlaysoni, but again, I'm not a botanist, so I cannot comment on that. But beautiful flowers. They last for about 2 or 3 days, if I'm not mistaken, and again, very, very easy to bloom. Yet another example of Hoyas doing what they're not supposed to do. I was luckily able to untangle this and get the leaves through the small holes without hurting them. This is Hoya AH021. It did bloom, but I did not take photos of the flower. I have to be honest with you, when I have a finlaysoni type bloom, I oftentimes don't even bother anymore to take out my camera and set everything up. I know I am so bad, but I do find the leaf shape on this one interesting. Again, I would not say it's my favorite Hoya. My feeling about Hoya finlaysoni has changed a lot lately because of similarity of the flowers, but I think this one has a bit something for itself, and that is that unique shape of the leaf. I'm not sure if this is a cross or not. I don't have any information on this Hoya, so if you do, you can leave it in the comment below. Now, my absolute favorite Hoya Mitrata. I love this plant so much. Every new leaf is better. The new leaves are huge. They are so beautiful, so sexy. One of my favorite Hoyas, and I cannot wait to get my hands on the silver one. Literally cannot wait. Love this Hoya. I think you should have it. I think everyone should grow it. I know some people don't like Hoya Mitrata, and I'm sorry, I think there is something wrong with you, but this is just a beautiful, beautiful Hoya. I think the flowers are nice. They don't smell so nice, I have to be honest. It blooms frequently. This one has a bit of overpowering scent. A lot of people say that these flowers look like molars, and I would have to agree. Now, this is Hoya erythrina NS07097. Again, we have the same issue here. Flowers are very small compared to the size of the leaves, but we do have a lot of peduncles on this one in various stages. It blooms very frequently. This was not always the case. First year was a struggle for this plant, and then I just decided to restart it. I was sick of the struggle. I cut it up and I just put it in pond without much thinking in a bigger pot, and this is how it stayed since. And it looks very, very nice. It is not as sun stressed as it was before, and I actually think I prefer this look. I think the leaves look very nice with the splash. The flowers, I think you have to develop maybe a taste for them. I do find them a bit odd. I'm not really sure why. There is something unsettling about these flowers, but I cannot put my finger on it. Now, this is Hoya species Nong Nooch. Again, I think this is similar to Finlaysoni. If not Finlaysoni, it has not bloomed for me. You can see that the leaves vary quite a lot depending on the conditions. Again, leaves stuck in trellis, but don't worry, I will get this one out as well. You cannot see the veining really because these are very, very dark leaves. I find them very interesting with the serrated edge. I'm not really sure why it is so slow. In my opinion, at least, it is very slow. Maybe it wants more water, maybe it doesn't love ponds so much. I think I will restart it and see just if I can get it to grow faster in an organic mix. But anyways, I do love this one quite a lot because of the size of the leaf. Now, Hoya pistolepis NS16002, one of my two clones of Hoya pistolepis. Unfortunately, I had a third one, but that did not make it, or it seems like it's not going to. It's a new addition. Beautiful leaves, and it went all the way into the light. Quite funny, it went into the light, then around, then we have the new growth, and you can see how it goes down, and then it sort of wraps around itself because, I don't know, it is almost as if it's trying to tell me something, but I'm not really quite sure what, because you do have a trellis. You could trellis yourself and not expect that from me. Now we have the shelf in the back. It used to be a little bit fuller. Some of the Hoyas from these spots are missing because they had too much of a rough time adjusting to the repot from a smaller pot to a larger impon. But this is my favorite clone of Hoya sigillatis AH001. It has a peduncle and it is going to bloom soon, fingers crossed. GPS 7240 Affinity sigillatis. You can see it looks dehydrated. It looked perfectly fine before the repot. Unfortunately, not so much after the repot, but it is a pretty nice Hoya. And you can see NS07039, this Hoya sigillatis. Very nice pink flowers. I like this one quite a lot, especially because it almost died. It left with just one leaf, and then it grew over 2 meters. You can see the comparison of the flowers between 7240 and NS07039. When my clone AH001 blooms, I will have bloomed all Hoya sigillatis. Now, it is my dream to bloom all the clones at the same time and to make sort of a comparison, but of course we know that the Hoyas will not allow that. They just do not follow our plans. NS07039 is also going to bloom soon. I'm thinking about cutting it back and just making a fuller plant. I had to hydrate these plants before I show them to you. It's nice to see something that's actually watered. This is a combo of Hoya Miguel Davidi. It has longer leaves than Hoya species Affinity Burtoniae. I think it looks great. They're also slightly cupped, and the back of the leaf also has a slight coloration to them. I think this is a great plant. It looks very, very nice. I don't think it's so common, and my plant unfortunately still did not bloom, but I'm looking forward to that. Now we have Affinity Burtoniae inner variegated. The older leaves will lose the variegation, only the new ones will be variegated, and I think this plant does a little bit better in lower light. I think the variegation stays longer. You can see my plant has lost most of the variegation. It blooms quite frequently though in highlight, but not so much variegation. I was actually struggling to find the leaves to prove to you that this is in fact inner variegated, and it is in very, very highlight. It is on the top of the shelf, very close to that Mars Hydro light. And then we have a Hoya NS05240. I did not bloom this plant yet. I heard it's not so easy to bloom this one. I've had it for about 2 years, so I think we should be ready. Hopefully soon we will get to see it bloom. It has a nice root system. It has nice leaves. A couple of them did yellow after the repot. I still didn't take them off, but I'm looking really forward to seeing this one in bloom. The flowers that I saw on the internet look gorgeous, and I think the leaves are pretty nice too. I think it's a nice addition to this combo, and I will just let you admire my combination of these three Hoyas. I think they look pretty nice. Slightly, the aerial roots are an issue, but we'll get over that. Although I got it under the name Lacunosa Borneo Red, I do believe this is Hoya sipitagensis. We will wait for the flower and see. One of my absolute favorites, the Shidia blue flower. I love this plant so much. It is so unique. The flowers are so nice. I just think like these green leaves and the blue flowers and just how many flowers there are. This is a true beauty. I think I will actually cut this one up and make a fuller pot. We have Hoya colina here. Again, I think a lot of these I just need to chop and make fuller pots. I think they will look nice. This is the splashy version, often sold as colina no ID, which makes no sense to me. Please don't do it. If you have Hoya colina and put no ID after, it doesn't make sense. You have the ID, it's Hoya colina. Hoya lacunosa royal flush. This is a combo that I made with Hoya lacunosa, two different lacunosas, and Hoya parviflora, which you will see very soon. I don't have photos of the flower, but it did bloom Hoya lacunosa. All three of these plants bloomed, and I only have one to show you in bloom right now. Hoya parviflora from Camilla. Beautiful plant. I thought they would look cute together, and of course, as always, I was right. They look very, very nice. And Lacunosa Langkawi Island, which I do believe is the same like Durian Perangin waterfall. It is just a cute Lacunosa with tiny leaves. It is in bloom now, so you get to see the flower. But I do think this is just a very nice combo. Please make sure to write in the comments below that I just made a nice selection of Hoyas to put in this hanging pot. And this is just really the goal with some of the other pots that you have seen. Now, this is my other grow tent. This is the one that is sort of horizontal. It's 60 by 60 centimeters, and I do not recommend that you do this, but that's an idea what you can do. It has two 36-watt LED lights, hardware store LED lights, nothing special. It is about half full, so I think that we should fill it out completely, right? And we have a lot of verticillatas in this grow tent. I recently made a video where I was cleaning up this grow tent, and I recommend you watch it if you haven't already. I got this plant under the name Hoya species North Vietnam number 5. It could be Hoya nutans, maybe, maybe not. We are just not really sure of the species. We will have to wait to see this plant bloom, but I got it because I'm just obsessed with anything that looks like Hoya carnosa. And I do believe this one has very interesting leaves. This one grew in the propagation bag. I had to restart it because it arrived with root mealybugs. I don't remember ordering those, but thank you very much for the gift. This is Hoya verticillata from Alea. I do like this plant a lot. I did not like it so much initially, but I grew to like it because I find the leaves pretty unique. They're on the small side. They sort of remind me of Hoya elliptica. I'm not really sure if I'm the only one that sees this. They're also on the thinner side. It did not bloom for me yet, but it is quite long, so I hope that it will bloom soon, and I hope it will be one of the verticillata flowers that I like. This is Verticillata RB Mini EPC 199. I got this from my friend Farah. It has been a bit slow because I did not water it on time, but now I think it's starting to grow a little bit better. I think it's cute. It is heart-shaped leaves with a lot of splash, and I think that is very popular. I cannot wait to see it bloom. I don't have much to say about this plant. I will make a comparison with another EPC clone of Verticillata later in the video, and I will need your opinion then. You recently saw me repot this Hoya Merelli, and I will still see if I'm going to keep both of these plants or one of these plants. I think I will wait for the flower, and I think now we are maybe closer to the flower because it's on a trellis. It seems to me it likes that a lot more than hanging, which was the previous situation. One of the leaves is burned, but such is life. This is one of the slowest verticillatas that I know, at least for me, the inner variegated verticillata. Slow poke, but it is a very nice looking Hoya, I have to admit. I do like it quite a lot. I cannot wait for it to fill out this entire trellis, but this is a year worth of growth. It started as a 2-leaf cutting, so I think we're gonna have to wait a long time, or maybe it will pick up. The next plant I do believe is Hoya verticillata as well. I got it from Basie. It is species NS07207. You can see it got a bit too much light, so it doesn't sound stressed at all. Instead, it has these blisters, so I'm very sorry for that. I will make sure to put it in slightly less light and maybe with a bit more water, because it was also underwatered and then it developed these on the leaves. The next clone of Hoya verticillata used to be very popular. It is Hoya verticillata former Weibergiae, and I think the reason for that is because it has this pink splash on the leaves. It looks very, very nice. My plant does look a little bit pale. That is after the repot. I think it's because we lost some of the roots. The leaves are not super soft, but they're also not super firm. But it's just a beautiful plant. It's no longer so popular because we have the silver verticillata, but 3 years ago, this one was quite expensive and not so easy to find. It also has one of the most beautiful verticillata flowers. I love when they have this sort of purplish center. I think it looks very nice, and I definitely am keeping the clones that bloom like this. The next plant is Hoya latifolia, again one of the many clones that I have, recently repotted and also severely underwatered in the past, so we are recovering here. It makes leaves that are all around the place. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger, some of them are very round, some of them look more like typical latifolia leaves. So you can really see the variety of the leaves on this plant and how it is not really reliable to ID the Hoya just based on the leaf. And I will tell you, when I got this plant, unfortunately I don't have the photos, but the leaves looked completely different. Nothing like this. None of them were so round and none of them were so big. I don't know why this plant didn't bloom for me. Latifolias typically bloom for me very early on, but not this one. She was not about that life. This is Verticillata EPC 997, stable pink spot splash. What a name, and that is descriptor in the parentheses. Beautiful Hoya, again heart-shaped leaf Verticillata. A lot of splash on this plant. I have 2 of these, one that I'm recovering because it was in semi-hydro, again severely underwatered. This one is doing well. It also bloomed recently. Again, that beautiful purplish center. You can really see why I love this type of verticillata flower compared to the other one. But I do want to compare this plant with the other one, which is RB Mini. Can you guess which one is which? Well, the smaller one on the left side is RB Mini. I just don't see much difference between these 2 plants. I would like a bit more information. 2 different EPC numbers, but to me, visually identical. I'm absolutely going to mispronounce this name. This is Hoya Geneve, and this Hoya I got last year. It was a very small cutting and it didn't do so well in the beginning, but now it's doing better. I will let it grow out and see how it blooms, if I like it or not. So far, we don't really need to have it. I think another Hoya can grow in its place, but we will just leave it and see. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. I think one of the best verticillata foliage has to be Hoya verticillata black margin. My friend Farah has a full silver version of this plant that is very sexy. Again, cannot wait to get my hands on that one. My plant did not bloom yet, but a cutting that I gifted to my friend did. Why do they do this? I don't know. I also do like a clone of verticillata from Tangamus. It looks similar to this one, but even better. Sort of similar vibe, but again, much better, so I'd like to get that one again. Verticillata with pink flower. It did bloom for me, but I did not see the flower before I saw it. It closed down and they fell off, which is very unfortunate. But this verticillata has a very light foliage. You can see when I compare it, it just arrived like that, it stayed like that. I'm not really sure if this is normal or not. Another latifolia from Look River Mural 135. This one did bloom and I recently restarted it. Unfortunately, did not take photo of the flower, but it's doing really well, so hopefully it will bloom again soon. I got this as Hoya melliflua. I don't think it's Hoya melliflua. It has a clear sap. I think it's most likely one of the pubicorollas, but we won't know until it blooms, so that is sort of exciting. Maybe it's not a pubicorolla, but it's definitely not melliflua, so that's why we have the star here. Now, Hoya species Loi province, I do think this is also verticillata. This plant has very nice leaves, again, a lot of splash, slightly elongated. I'm not really sure how long I will keep this one. I will see how it blooms and how I like that. It does have a peduncle, so I hope it's not going to take a long time, but honestly, I think I have too many verticillata clones. Yet another one, but this one is just like the master work of trellising. Look at that. Can you believe I trellised that? Neither can I. This is outer variegated Hoya verticillata. I tried to get rid of this plant. I don't know, I just get too attached to them. I'm very sentimental about Hoyas, so I just decided to keep all of it. I could not even get rid of one. There are 2 plants in that pot. I could have cut it back. Nope. No, I just want to keep it all. I just want to hoard Hoyas. That is the end of that tour, and now we have completed all the grow tents. And did I get some other Hoyas that I put in the grow tents since I started this series? Absolutely yes. I will show you those, I think, at the end, or I will include them in my glass cabinet video, but there will also be a Hoya haul, so you will get to see those, don't worry. And maybe like in the last video, I can do a total count how many Hoyas there are. It's gonna be slightly terrifying to find out. I still think it's around 350, but I think I'm mistaken. I think we are entering the 400, or we're getting dangerously close. I ordered 2 Hoyas today. It's like 11 a.m. I ordered 2 Hoyas. In my defense, they're gorgeous. It's a pretty lame defense. I should not be a lawyer. If you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, because there will be more Hoya videos coming. Practically almost all of the videos are Hoya videos, and there will be 2 more Hoya tours. Not next week. I think next week we take a short break because I have something else planned, like actually getting the cabinets ready. I have to clean. You do not see what is behind the camera, but it is a mess. Stuff happened. We'll talk about it in the future video, and then we will resume with the Hoya tours. You will get to see them all. I'm not gonna quit midway. Don't worry about it. Have thought about it. I have. It's a lot. It's a lot. But anyways, that is the end of the video. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend, and I will see you soon. Are we done? Cut! There's no one here. I would like to take some time to thank all of my patrons for their incredible support. A massive shout out to my $5 patrons. My 2 anonymous patrons, Alex von Siebenthal, Amber Clear, Anne-Margaret Moyen, Angela Bernard, Angela Parrish, Anne C., Ashley Hoyas, Beth Gibson, Betsy, Bougie Panda, Catherine Molina, Daniela Danube Daniels, Daria Kaminska, Deanne Sikorsky, Deepanjali Rao, Farah, Gina K., Gina Geise, Go Green Tropical, Heather Uppingham, Hoji Scott, Jamie R. Sinod, Yana Griffin, Jessica Chio, Yovan Denod, Kara, Catherine P., Casey Gross, Callie Cook, Kelso, Callie Gallagher, Kiwi Mochi, Christy Ehrlich, LaPlante Steph, Mandy Milliken, Marcella Har, Marcelina Novosatsky, Mario West, Mars B, Martina, Alif Per Day, Marty Miller, Mary Rose, Melissa Walker, Michael Curley, Michelle Herron, Nicole Ferranti, Moa Edmond, Neely Yang, Niha Basso, Neely Spicer, Nicole Moreau, Nicole and Caleb of Schlief Tropicals, Nina Nguyen, Nita Macy, PJ, Plant Druid, Planting with Nat, Rachel Peterson, Robin L. Jennings, Robin Roos, Saloma Dal, Sandra Cornelius, Sherry Kumar, Stephanie H2O, Sybil Williams, Tanya Tessa Martins, The One True Kyle, Tristan Thomas, Tia B, TJWO, Trista Bailey, Wendy Foreman, Wendy Rosman, Ksenia Green, Youth of the Walamut, and Zlokov Niponi. Also, a big thank you to my $3 patrons: Andy H, Angelina Farnan, Anna K, Brenda Little, Colleen Coyle Levi, Constance Kilone, Claudia L, Erin Keenan, Catherine Parsons, Lindsay Ann, Lisa Helling, Nella, Nerdy Kathy, Plantolenia Ringlov, and Tang Watanasriya Kool. And thank you to my $1 patrons: Alice Borland, Kari, Christina Greengrass, Couture Helvetica, Ida W, Amelia Bronson, Joanna Pearson, Jolie Sullivan, Kayla Vavra, Kelly Ash, Chris Perez, Lauren M, Lorianne Subramanian, Luzman Fernandez, Tracy the Eye Biller, and Olivia Chinmuller.